Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. It was supposed to be the highlight of our anniversary trip, a private tour of Dunmore Castle, nestled on the rugged cliffs overlooking the North Sea. The ancient stones of the castle had stood the test of time, and I had hoped, somewhat symbolically, that they might reflect the enduring nature of our own marriage. How wrong I was. As we approached the towering gates of the castle, Emma's excitement was palpable. Her cheeks were flushed from the brisk wind, or perhaps from the thrill of exploring a place she had dreamt of since childhood. Our tour guide, Malcolm, a young, charismatic historian with a deep passion for medieval architecture, met us with a warm, knowing smile. He seemed to sense Emma's enthusiasm and immediately took a liking to her. The tour began innocently enough, with Malcolm leading us through the grand hall and explaining the intricate carvings that adorned the walls. His knowledge was impressive, and his stories were peppered with intriguing anecdotes about the lives of those who had once walked these halls. Emma hung on his every word, occasionally tugging at my arm to express her awe. As we ascended the spiral staircase to the upper chambers, Malcolm announced that part of the castle was currently under restoration. "I must ask you to excuse me for a moment while I check in with my team upstairs," he said, his eyes briefly meeting Emma's. "Feel free to explore on your own. Just avoid the west wing, it's not safe." Emma nodded eagerly, then turned to me. "I need to use the restroom, love. Go on without me." I kissed her forehead and watched as she walked away, her steps light and carefree. Left alone, I wandered through the opulent rooms, each filled with portraits of long-gone nobles whose eyes seemed to follow my every move. The silence of the castle was profound, but not peaceful. There was a tension in the air, a whisper of something amiss. As minutes turned into a quarter of an hour, I realized that Emma had been gone too long. Concern nibbling at my thoughts, I retraced my steps, intending to check on her. That's when I heard them, the faint, unmistakable sounds of pleasure, muffled but clear, emanating from behind the door marked "Private." Heart pounding, I pressed my ear against the cold wood. The voices were hushed but heated, filled with a passion that struck a dissonant chord in my chest. A woman's laugh, breathy and all too familiar, sliced through me. It was Emma. Driven by a mix of disbelief and dread, I pushed open the door. The scene before me was like a grotesque tableau vivant. There, amidst the dust sheets and scaffolding, was my wife and Malcolm. The betrayal was as stark and vivid as the ancient tapestries that hung on the walls around them. Emma's gaze met mine, wide with shock and something akin to regret. Malcolm scrambled to his feet, his face flushed with more than just exertion. "John, Emma began, but words failed her. I felt as if the ground beneath me had crumbled. "How long, Emma?" My voice was a hollow echo in the vast, lonely chamber. She shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes. "It doesn't. It matters to me." The anger in my voice scared even me. Malcolm stepped forward, his hands raised in a gesture of peace. "John, let's discuss this like gentlemen." "There's nothing gentlemanly about betrayal," I snapped, my hands balling into fists. Leaving them there, in the shadow of the castle's ancient walls, I walked away. The cold had seeped deep into my bones, a chill I knew would take a long time to thaw. But as I stepped out into the biting wind, a resolve settled over me. They had chosen their fate, and I would choose mine. Revenge, cold and calculated, would be my new companion. Emma and Malcolm would regret the day they underestimated John Avery. After leaving the castle, I drove aimlessly for hours, the image of Emma's betrayal replaying like a cruel loop in my mind. Eventually, I found myself pulling into the gravel lot of a quaint seaside pub, the Sailor's Rest. I needed a moment, a drink, anything to still the storm within. The pub was warm, a stark contrast to the chill that clung to me. I settled into a dim corner with a view of the door, a whiskey in hand. My thoughts were turbulent, plotting, planning. It was here, amidst the low hum of local chatter and the crackle of the fireplace, that a new character entered the fray. A man in his late 50s, with salt and pepper hair and a sturdy build, took the stool next to mine. He wore the rugged look of a lifelong seafarer, his eyes sharp and observant. "Rough day," he ventured, noting my somber expression. "Something like that," I replied, not in the mood for small talk. He ordered a pint and turned back to me. "Name's Robert. I've seen that look before. If you need an ear, I've got two." Despite myself, I found comfort in his offer. "John," I said, extending a hand. "My wife, the words tangled like weeds." Robert nodded, a knowing look in his eyes. "Say no more. Betrayal's a poison. Takes a strong man to face it head-on." I took a deep breath. "I plan to expose them both. They won't get away with it." "Exposure, eh? That can be arranged." Robert's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. "What's the plan?" I leaned in, driven by a newfound alliance. "First, I gather evidence. Photos, testimonials. Then, I take it all public. Ruin their reputations. I want them to feel a fraction of what I'm feeling now." Robert's eyes lit up with a mix of fire and ice. "You'll be needing help. And perhaps, a bit of inside information. Malcolm, the guide, he's got a history of this sort of thing. I know people who've been burned by him. I can get you in touch." "Really?" This was more than I'd hoped for. "Absolutely. And there's more. I have a friend, a photographer. He's discreet, professional. He can help you document everything you need for your revenge." The plan was taking shape, morphing from abstract rage into something tangible. "I'll need to think about the specifics. But yes, I want to meet your photographer." Robert clapped me on the shoulder. "Good man. I'll set it up. How about tomorrow? Meet here?" "Tomorrow," I confirmed, a grim sense of purpose settling over me. As I left the pub, the evening had deepened into a starless night. The air was thick with the salt of the sea and the weight of impending actions. I knew what I was setting in motion was irreversible. But there was no turning back now. The game had changed, and I was no longer just a betrayed husband, I was a player in a much larger story, one that would see justice served in the cold light of truth. The next day dawns overcast and gray, a fitting backdrop for the task at hand. I arrive at the Sailor's Rest early, the heavy clouds mirroring the turmoil inside me. Robert is already there, nursing a cup of coffee at a secluded table. He gestures for me to join him. "Morning, John. Sleep well?" he asks, though the look in his eyes suggests he already knows the answer. "Not much sleep to be had," I admit, taking a seat. "Let's get to it." Robert nods, his demeanor serious. "This is Liam," he says as another man approaches our table. Liam is in his early 40s, wiry and alert, with a camera slung over his shoulder. "Best in the business. If it's proof you're after, Liam's your man." Liam extends a firm handshake. "Heard quite a bit about your situation, John. I'm ready to help you capture whatever you need." "Thank you, Liam. I appreciate it," I respond, the reality of our conspiracy setting in. "We need to be discreet. I can't risk this blowing back on me before I'm ready." "Discretion is my middle name," Liam assures with a half-smile. "What's the plan?" I lay it out for them. Malcolm has tours scheduled all week. We know he'll likely repeat his indiscretions. We catch him in the act, gather the evidence, and expose both him and Emma. Robert looks to Liam, who nods in agreement. I'll track his tours, find the right moment, and get the shots. You'll have everything you need to nail him. And I'll gather statements from others he's deceived. By the time we're done, Malcolm won't have a leg to stand on, Robert adds. The next hours are spent in planning, discussing angles, schedules, and potential risks. It feels surreal, like a plot from a thriller, yet here I am, orchestrating the downfall of my wife and her lover. Later that afternoon, I watch from a distance as Liam discreetly follows Malcolm's tour group into the castle. My heart races. This is it, the beginning of the end for them. I stay back, the tension unbearable, waiting for any signal from Liam. Hours later, Liam returns, his expression grim. Got what you needed? I ask immediately. Liam nods, showing me the camera's display. The images are clear, damning, Malcolm and a woman, not Emma this time, in a compromising position, unmistakably caught in the act. This is perfect, I say, though a part of me recoils at the sight. Can you get more? I'll get more if he continues his routine, Liam confirms. But this is enough to start the fire. As we part ways, the weight of our actions bears down on me. This isn't just about revenge anymore, it's about exposing a predator, protecting others from his deceit. I feel a resolve harden within me, tempered by the cold reality of betrayal and the burning need for justice. That night, as I sit alone in the dark, the images flicker before me, not just on the screen, but in my mind. Tomorrow, I confront Emma. But tonight, I mourn the death of our marriage, the innocence lost in the shadowed halls of Dunmore Castle. The final confrontation is set at the very heart of where it all began, Dunmore Castle. The ancient walls, once a symbol of enduring strength, now feel like a grim stage for the final act of my shattered marriage. As I drive through the winding road leading to the castle, the weight of the impending confrontation makes my hands tremble on the wheel. Inside the castle, I find Emma waiting in the grand hall, her face pale, her eyes wary. The air between us is thick with unspoken accusations and impending truths. John, she begins, her voice barely above a whisper, I know why you're here. Do you? My voice is cold, detached. Because I'm not sure you understand the full extent of what's been happening. Emma takes a deep breath. I can explain. Save it, I interrupt, my anger flaring. I've seen enough, Emma. I know about Malcolm. But what I didn't expect was to find out it wasn't just him. Confusion flickers across Emma's face. What are you talking about? I throw down the photographs Liam took, not only of her and Malcolm but of Malcolm with other women, in the very same compromising positions. He's been using this castle as his personal playground. And you were part of his game. Emma recoils as if struck. Her eyes fill with tears, not just of guilt but of realization. John, I was fooled, I swear. He told me we were special, that it was just a momentary lapse. Special? I scoff, the bitterness overwhelming. You're just one of many, Emma. I've spoken to others. Malcolm has done this before, to many women, using his charm and his stories of the castle's hidden romances. Her face crumbles, and for a moment, I see not just the woman who betrayed me but a victim of Malcolm's manipulations as well. I didn't know. I thought. It doesn't matter what you thought, I say, my voice firm. It's over, Emma. I came here to tell you that I'm filing for divorce. As the words hang in the air, heavy and final, Robert steps out from the shadows of the doorway. Emma looks at him, startled. John's not alone in this, Robert says. Many have suffered because of Malcolm's deceit. We're exposing him, not just for what he did to John, but to prevent him from hurting anyone else. Emma looks from Robert to me, her expression one of dawning horror. You were planning this? Yes. To bring him down. To bring you down if it came to that. My words are harsh, but the betrayal warrants no softness. I understand, she whispers, her voice breaking. I'll sign the papers. I'll leave. I never meant for any of this to happen. As Emma turns to leave, the finality of our parting strikes a chord within me. I watch her retreat, her figure diminishing in size until she disappears through the castle's massive oak doors. In the echoing vastness of Dunmore's halls, Robert places a hand on my shoulder. You okay? Yeah, I reply, though okay is far from the truth. Let's finish this. Together, we walk out into the light of a declining sun, leaving behind the dark shadows of Dunmore Castle. The drive to expose Malcolm is no longer just about personal vengeance, it's about justice. The story of deception ends here, but the tale of retribution is just beginning. As I drive away from Dunmore for the last time, the castle now a mere silhouette against the fiery sky, I feel a chapter of my life closing, painful but necessary. Ahead lies a road, uncertain yet free from the deceit that once bound me.